You are listening to DC Comics Rush Hour, a podcast for DC Comics fans by a DC Comics fan. So good morning. It's Friday, end of my 12th week of recording. Wow. And I would be looking forward to my 13th week of recording, but due to various circumstances of work and business stuff and whatever, my 13th week will actually be a week delayed. Sorry about that for all my millions and millions of listeners, but that's alright. I'll still be back. You'll still be here, hopefully. For today, however, I'm going to talk about something that's going to appear on its surface to not have anything to do with DC Comics, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there really quickly. So last night, November 2nd, at 7 o'clock, I was sitting down in the theater to see the premiere of Thor Ragnarok. Obviously, the big premiere. I'm sure everybody has seen the commercials at the very least. Alright, so this is going to be a spoiler podcast, but mostly just about my impressions and thoughts. I just don't want to not say spoiler and then accidentally say the wrong thing. I don't know, Thor is not DC. And I normally only talk DC stuff. But since this is the next big superhero movie coming out, and it's 2 weeks till Justice League, it just didn't seem right to not talk about it today. So I am going to talk about it. However, to tie it back, I promised to tie it back. As we walked into the theater, there was, of course, all the different movie posters for coming soon, all the big cardboard stand-ups for various things. Murder on the Orient Express, the stand-up for that is incredibly cool. It's a train car with all the different actors positioned. It's very 3D. It looks really, really cool. It's one that, if I had a big enough house, I would love to have that stand-up that I could put somewhere. I don't really know where, but I'd love to have it. There's probably way too many of these that I'd love to have, including right outside the theater where Thor was going to be shown was a large 3D stand-up for the Justice League. Remember, coming in 2 weeks to a theater near you. Actually, at this point, 13 days. Alright, so it has a couple characters up front, other characters in the back, and a space where you can walk into the middle, a little raised platform, a spot where it even has little printed, foot spots. This is your mark. And I'm waiting for this car in front of me to actually move. There we go. For some reason, it's a Mustang that decided it didn't want to drive. I don't know why. So, anyway, that being said, it's a stand-up where you stand and you join the league, basically. You are right in the midst. You got Batman behind you, and Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, Flash, the whole crew, all the way around you, except for Superman. And if there ends up being a surprise Green Lantern appearance, no Green Lantern. But that's no surprise. Again, Wonder Woman, Flash are very prominent. All the others are there. It's very cool. So I had to get that picture made, and then Facebook post and Twitter post for Old Titans and such called out, Thor Ragnarok premiere that I was at, and had to do the hashtag Justice League for the win. Anyway, that was kind of cool. So there's my tie to DC. Alright, the movie itself. I am torn on Thor Ragnarok. I've been giving it lots of thought overnight. Well, when I wasn't sleeping, and kind of have to do those kind of things. But when I wasn't sleeping, I had to think about it. I went into the movie having seen all the commercials and knowing the Hulk was a big part of the story, and I had heard that Doctor Strange was in it. I went in really wanting to like the movie. Throughout the movie, I really, really, really wanted to love this movie. I think the actors all did a great job. Any of the scenes between Thor and Loki were incredibly well done. They've had those parts for so long now. They've got a great relationship in character built up. It just worked. The story, the overall core story, was really good. I'd say, without a doubt, the best of the Thor stories so far. However, there had to be a but, or however, whatever. Otherwise, I would be struggling. This had the same problem as the Orville. It has a really good core, and then they wrap it in really stupid humor. Over the top. And I don't mean over the top as in a joke is over the top. I mean over the top as in just again and again and again. Karen said it best at one point we were walking out, if they'd cut back on about 2/3 of the humor, and I don't know if that's the exact percentage, obviously she was just picking a number out of the air there a little bit, but definitely half or more, but half, more, 2/3, whatever. If they cut out that much of the stupid humor, then this would have been maybe not perfect, but just incredible movie. Instead, they ruined it, or ruined a lot of scenes with the stupidity. You get really involved in a scene, and then someone would say something in a stupid way that would pull you out of the movie. It's not that they do something in character or that made sense in the story. They did something that was obviously a stand-up routine that made you remember you were just watching a movie, and it wasn't funny. Those moments, they had plenty of humor that was great, from a play within the movie and some special casting of it to Loki's reaction to Hulk's first scene. There were several spots where the humor was absolutely perfect, and I love it. I don't want the humor to go away, but don't make it feel like it's just a stand-up routine with the lowest common denominator jokes being thrown out, and I don't know, that was where the problem was. I think somebody decided that because of how popular Guardians was, they had to double or triple down on that humor and use it anywhere they could. And so we basically get Guardians of the Galaxy level humor scattered throughout, and again, and in places that it just didn't work. That being said, there's going to be a lot of people who really, really love this. I know, because there was a group sitting behind us in the theater. I wish they'd been sitting anywhere else in the theater. They were not obnoxious, they were not rude, they were not doing anything wrong. They were enjoying the movie. Good for them. However, they were loud. At the dumbest jokes, the guy behind me would let out the largest laughs, and you could just tell there was something when he was talking before the movie, and while the credits rolling at the end and we're waiting on the final scene, you could just tell not all pistons were firing, just whatever analogy you want to use, just not the brightest person in the world. And that's who this humor is going to appeal to. And it's just, I want something more intelligent than that. I want something that doesn't insult me left and right, which is what this humor does, I believe. It doesn't offend, but it does insult. And I don't know. Again, this is going to make a ton of money. It's going to be wildly popular. People are going to love it. But there will be a core group, such as myself, who just don't understand why people like this kind of humor. That's not going to go away. I get that they do, and if that was the target, if that was what they were aiming for, they succeeded. But anyway, it's there. And other things that went on in it, Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master, incredibly weird and creepy. But according to Alex, my son, that's exactly what he's supposed to be like. So, okay, that's fine. The entire sequence when Thor first shows up on Sakaar, the first few minutes when he shows up, I was fully expecting the Junkticons, or whatever they were called, from the original Transformers animated movie, the garbage planet that had Transformers on it. I was fully expecting them to pop out. That's what it felt like. But once you were past that, once Thor is captured and is being brought into the whole meet the Grandmaster thing, and he's flying through what looks like a amusement park ride, from that point, really until they left Sakaar, it felt like I was watching the old Flash Gordon movie. Flash, he'll save every one of us. That's exactly what it felt like. That's not a horrible thing, but you had two different movies in one. You had the old Flash Gordon, and you had a modern superhero action film mixed together, and it was a little jarring at times when you cut from one storyline to the other. The opening. Got to say something about the opening. All right. So the opening, while it had maybe a couple of dumb jokes in it, it was not as over the top, and they were okay, because the opening felt, from the beginning of it until the Thor Ragnarok logo comes up, it felt like I was watching the opening of a James Bond movie. You start in the middle of an action moment that did not apparently have anything to do with the rest of the story, even if they tie it back later or anything. It's very James Bond opening. You almost expect to hear, at the moment he escapes at the end, and wins the day, da 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 da. You expect to hear that, and that's kind of how it worked. I would say the opening of the movie was the most successful part of it, as far as being structured well, and just really no complaint. I might have changed one or two of the jokes. Spinning on the chain, it got old. It's like, okay, we got it. We got the joke. And they kind of overdid it just a little bit. But other than that, it was almost, let's say, almost perfect opening. The final battle, absolutely incredible. Definitely the best final battle of any Thor movie. And I'd be willing to say that this movie, Thor Ragnarok, is probably, of every movie that's come out from any company, this has been the most over-the-top sci-fi comic book, live in that world action thing that you could possibly get. And not just because the Earth stuff was limited, even though it was very limited. It just, they embraced everything to do with the universe. In some cases embraced it in a weird, I didn't care for it way, but they embraced it. Parts of it I felt like I was watching Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. It was, the fact that they did that was cool. I struggle with saying it's good, and I struggle with saying it's bad. It was both. It was two different movies crammed together. And the movie that was good was incredibly good. And the movie that was bad was incredibly bad. If you could separate them out, then, and throw away the bad one, you'd have maybe the best Marvel movie to date. Maybe. But it's hidden in there amongst the garbage. And, they needed Joss Whedon to do a refinement on the humor. I think if he had a chance to do a rewrite on the script, you might have had perfection. But we didn't get that. He's off finishing up Justice League, which is coming out in 13 days. Looking forward to that more. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Their length is not going to be a whole lot different. Thor was 2 hours and 10 minutes, but that includes credits and everything. Justice League is 1 hour and 59 minutes, so they're 11 minutes different. There's a lot that can happen in 11 minutes, don't get me wrong, but they're not 30, 45 minute different in length, so they're going to feel similar. in pacing and such. And this had such a large cast, it makes me less worried about this, Justice League being cut down or trimmed down, because we don't really need a whole lot of introduction to a lot of these characters. We know who they are. We just need to see how they got together. But anyway, there's my Thor review. On one hand, I want to give it 5 out of 5 stars. On another hand, I want to give it 1 out of 5 stars. So I guess I'll average it and give it a 3. Maybe I should call it 3 hammers. I don't know. They definitely set it up for more Thor movies. Hopefully they'll have more. I do hope they have more. I don't know. That's it. So for John Paul, DC Comics Rush Hour, the old Titans, long live the Legion.